Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Morning, everybody. Happy Friday here on Fantasy Sports Daily. As you heard, powered by FantasyGuru.com. I am Ray Flowers of FG. Hopefully you're having a good Friday. Hopefully you had a good week. Hopefully you're looking forward to the weekend. Got some big plans. My plans are the following. My significant other is out of town. She's attending a wedding. So I'm going to sit around, probably have a Mai Tai or two, and play a bunch of Star Wars movies. May the Fourth be with you, for those of you that are Star Wars fans. With my Fanty stereo, I'm going to blast the crap out of it. She doesn't like bass. She doesn't like loud stuff, so I never really get the cinema experience at home. So I'm really looking forward to having the cinema experience at home. Have a good time, sweetie, while she's away. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. Follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter X, @TheRayFlowers. You can find me over at FG. I'm in the Discord room every day answering questions, baseball questions, football questions, all that kind of stuff. You can find me here. You can find this show here. As you're well aware, I assume at this point, tell a friend, by the way. Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern, we go about an hour. We have guests on for the 5 days. Monday, I go solo. The other 4 days, we have a guest on at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Today, we'll talk to Russell Clay. I'll throw up on the screen here what the plan is for the day. Let's get it going. In about half an hour, we will talk to Russell. Early expectations for the running back position. We talked yesterday to Tyler Beaker. If you missed that, episode 390 on May 1st, we talked about the quarterback position and the rookies. Today, we're going to talk about the running back position and the rookies with Russell Clay. Obviously, that's Genty, Omarion, Hampton, Quinshon, Judkins, TreVeyon, Henderson, RJ Harvey, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll talk to we'll talk to Russell in about 30 minutes. Before then, we'll talk some baseball. We got updates, and they're not all good. Some are good news. Yeah, some guys surging. We got a veteran demoted. We've had a couple players that we're counting on to be significant parts of fantasy clubs put on the disabled list this morning. We'll talk about that. Some guys that are improving performances. Luis Robert, is he woken from the dead? Maikel Garcia, how good is this guy? We'll talk about those guys moving forward. This show, again, is Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fenchman hosts on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, I'm over with Jeff on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. And, I've been noticing this, and I totally get it. Like, we got a lot of things going on at FG. I see questions sometimes in the Discord. Hey, what do you think about this player? We're doing the best we can to hit all the angles, right? Whether it's a podcast or a live stream or questions in Discord or articles. We're trying to hit little bits. We know everyone has their thing, right? Some people prefer to read, some people prefer to watch, some people prefer to listen, all those kind of things. So we're trying to hit up all those spots. And again, I always say this, I'm pretty good about figuring out who people want to talk about. So, if you get a chance, watch this show. I leave the outline up on the show so you can see it and you can follow along. We go in order so you know exactly who we're talking about. When you wonder what are you talking about, listen on the podcast. Yes, you can listen as a podcast. Go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab, top of the page, this show, all the other podcasts. You can type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network. That also works. You can go to youtube.com/Elite Plus Network, facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuru site. All three of those places you can watch live or on demand. If you're watching live, you can leave comments and questions throughout. Bottom line is there's a lot of things going on here. I try to hit up all this stuff. Someone asked me about Spencer Steer this morning. Talked about Spencer Steer last night on the show with Justin Fensterman. That show is Elite Sports Game Time. That's Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 Eastern Time. Jeff Mann's got the Elite Sports Show from 3 o'clock on SiriusXM. It's about ready to go 3 hours next week. So it'll be 3 hours every day instead of this 2 hours a couple times. I think it's 3 hours every day next week. So Jeff will be on 3 to 6 Eastern on SiriusXM, and then this show at 12 o'clock Eastern. So here at 12 o'clock Eastern with Jeff on Sirius at 3 o'clock Eastern. He's doing mostly football for those of you that really want to dig into that. And then we do, Justin and I, a lot of baseball, some basketball, 8 to 10 Eastern on Elite Sports Game Time. All right, let's talk about some of the guys here. Walker Buehler, let's talk about that guy, the righty that took forever to come back from Tommy John surgery. Been pitching pretty effectively. And this always happens, right? The rankings have been updated for those that missed it. The rankings have been updated at fantasyguru.com. So check that out. 650 players, whatever the hell it is, full re-rankings update. So go check it out. That was published yesterday. The Solds rankings just went live maybe a minute before the show started here. So the Solds rankings have been updated as well for those of you in Solds leagues. Walker Buehler, I've kind of been lukewarm on Walker Buehler when the question's been asked, and I thought, his performance has been decent, but I'm not all in with Walker Buehler or anything like that. Well, now he's got a shoulder issue. They're sending him. Now, remember, he had the Tommy John surgery on his elbow. Now it's a shoulder, and he's going for additional testing after not feeling great after his last start. Now, we haven't heard doom and gloom. We haven't heard season's over, surgery, any of that stuff, but they're going for additional testing. I'll draw a parallel. I always talk about my shoulder and my rotator cuff tears in my left shoulder. I'm right-handed. I pitched a little bit, but just throwing the baseball for 20 years. Always had elbow issues. I had tendonitis. I've had cortisone shots in my elbow. I've had deep tissue massage with a wood dowel. I've done exercises, all that kind of stuff. Now it's my shoulder that's bothering me. My elbow bothers me. So instead of throwing my normal low three quarters when I'm chucking the ball for the dog, I tend to go more over the top, trying to protect my elbow. Now my shoulder's going. And it's kind of getting similar to my left shoulder. So I might have torn something in my right shoulder. Bottom line is, and I'm an old guy. But the bottom line is I get this. When you have an injury, you make changes. And a lot of these guys on the Hill in particular make changes for the better, right? They get stronger. They're more diligent with their training. But in so doing, they're putting stressors on other parts of their body. If your elbow is fixed, right, and now your velocity's back and your strength is back in your elbow, you're starting to put more strain on your shoulder because now your elbow is more capable of handling the stress, right? So maybe it's a little bit, maybe you change your mechanics. And this is something too. These guys go in the labs and they realize, well, if you change your arm angle 2% here and you drop this down 3% here, you'll get a better pitch shape and you'll be more confusing to batters and all that kind of stuff. So I think this happens a lot. I think it happens a lot. And so we'll continue to monitor things right now with Walker Buehler. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it's good news. It usually isn't. Ask Tyler Glasnow. Jeffrey Springs, talking about Jeffrey Springs. Jeffrey Springs is low in the rankings at fantasyguru.com. He was somebody that I was behind. I drafted myself in multiple leagues in like the 23rd, 5th round, whatever it was. Rough start to the season. Now he faced the Rangers, and the Rangers, we'll talk more about them in a second. The Rangers didn't have Jake Berger. They didn't have Corey Seager. Adolis Garcia is not hitting. The Rangers just haven't hit their stride yet. And so Jeffrey Springs yesterday went out there, 2 hits, a walk over 6 innings to a shutout. That was great. Okay, great effort for him. He's facing the Mariners next. The Mariners, but the last 10 days or so here, the Mariners have really started to hit. So that next outing will be much more indicative, I think, of what we should be expecting or hoping for. Interestingly enough, 6 shutout innings against the Rangers, they're in such bad shape that Springs threw those 6 shutout innings and he didn't even throw 70 pitches, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he could have kept going in this game. Clearly the A's didn't want him to go out there and struggle, right? After he performed well after having some struggles. Maybe they're worried about, everyone seeing him a third time through and all that too. So Springs, he's on a watch list now. Again, the matchup with the Mariners, I don't love it, but if he's on the waiver wire, you could probably do a lot worse than adding Jeffrey Springs, despite the fact that he's pretty low in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. When I say you could do worse, I'm talking pick him up streaming, seeing how it goes. Remember, the rankings update is from May 1st to the end of the season. So I'm trying to balance helping you right now versus that season-long scenario. Eric S. says, and Eric, I owe you an email. We may be old, Ray, but we know the old guys rule. Thanks for what you do for us. Cheers from Southern California. I appreciate that, Eric. Thank you. Again, I do owe you an email. I saw that yesterday. Okay. Tony W. says, remember old age and treachery always beats young age and enthusiasm. From 61-year-old Tony. Tony, I like it. You, me, Eric, us guys that have some gray maybe in our beards, and we're wise. At least let's go with that. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you both. Let's talk about Tyler Mahle, who is getting older for baseball. He's not old. He's 17 years younger than I am, or whatever he might be. But he pitched well against the A's on the opposite side of Springs yesterday, and he gave up 1 run, in 5 hits in his 6 innings of work. The start couldn't have been better for Tyler Mahle. His ERA is like 2 flat. His WHIP is like 1 flat. He's been fantastic. Now, his next outing is in Fenway against the Red Sox. No, we're not doing that. The Red Sox are obviously, Duran's killing it. I think Devers is finally coming around. Alex Bregman's on absolute fire. Wyatt Abreu's killing right-handed pitching. I don't want to start Mahle at Fenway, so I'd be very cautious there. but he's been terrific to date. Now, the question with Mahle is, what can he, at a little bit of a lower velocity, at a little bit of a lowered strikeout rate, can he continue to do what he's doing? And the answer is obviously no. There's a secondary question about workload. How deep into this season is he going to go coming back from the injury? You could try to trade Mahle. Now, the issue with trading Tyler Mahle is he's Tyler Mahle, and he's probably not going to generate much excitement. So it's one of those scenarios where you kind of, I think, just ride him out until it doesn't work anymore. I mean, that's kind of, I don't think there's a better way to handle this. Again, I'd be very cautious starting him that next time out at Fenway. I don't like that. But he's pitching very well. Too bad the Rangers just can't do much offensively. They will get going at some point. They're too good not to, but boy, it's not been a start that we expected from that Rangers offense. Another bullpen scenario. We talked about bullpens yesterday, and we got some good news from the Diamondbacks. We got some bad news from the Diamondbacks. A.J. Puck has been transferred from the 15-day injured list to the 60-day injured list, but there is growing optimism that he might be able to return in late June. Remember, when he hurt his forearm, there was the thought, oh, his season's over and this is it kind of thing, right? So maybe he's back. So, if you have an IL spot and you want to stash him, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Now, Justin Martinez, the guy that was supposed to take over, he's been placed on the injured list with a shoulder issue. We talked about that. I think we did yesterday here on the show. Not expected to be out long term, but so now we're without Puck and we're without Justin Martinez. What do we do in the bullpen here? Remember, we're without the number one guy, the number two guy. Oftentimes, when that happens with teams, there is no third guy. There's like third, fourth, fifth guy, right? There's not a one guy that takes over. And we talked about this on the show, I believe it was yesterday or the day before. And, Kevin Ginkel's just back from injury. Ryan Thompson got the first save, and Shelby Miller got the second save. So we'll have a fab article up later today or tomorrow morning over at fantasyguru.com looking at this. Shelby Miller is an intriguing guy. He's pitching great. He's been around a long time. Lots of injuries. I'm gonna say Ginkel, Miller, Thompson, and I don't feel good about that at all. Again, I'm not anticipating any one of those three running away with it, and I'm hopeful that in 2 or 3 weeks Martinez is back anyway. So be cautious bidding this weekend. We'll obviously follow this story as we get closer to bidding on Sunday for those of you in Fab Leagues. One more pitcher before we talk hitting. Bobby Miller. We've talked on the show this week about Blake Snell and his shoulder not responding as hoped. We talked about Tyler Glasnow and the uncertainty there. Obviously, we also talked about Tony Gonsolin, who's been returned to the Dodgers club. What about Bobby Miller? The guy that I personally drafted in my 14-15 team mixed leagues, the guy I was taking in the 28th round, right? He's my reserve round guy. Let's go. I was worried about health of Glasnow. I was worried about health with Snell. It came to pass exactly as expected. But the problem is Bobby Miller's pitching like ass. And it's the second year in a row where he just doesn't have it. And, last night he walked 6 batters. He's walked 15 guys in 21 innings, and it just doesn't work. And, he's tremendously talented, but basically since the start of last season, just been a mess. So if you're like me, and again, I'm in 15 team leagues with, 6 bench spots. We drafted 450 players. Then there's probably 60 guys on the injured list. So we're into the 500s easily in terms of the players on rosters. I've got to drop Bobby Miller this week. It's just not, maybe in the second half or something that comes around. But by the time the second half comes around, maybe Glasnow's back. Maybe Snell is back. Maybe Kershaw's back. So I just, hoped, prayed on Bobby Miller. Just hasn't had it to start the season here. All right, let's talk some offense. And, I'm not going to belabor the Mike Trout is hurt thing again, because we talked about this yesterday. We actually talked about this on the Elite Sports Game Time show when it happened. I think it was on the Elite Sports Game Time show, right? Or it might have been on Jeff's Man. No, it was on the Jeff Mann show, the Elite Sports at 3 to 6 Eastern. Elite Sports Game Time is 8 to 10. I get confused. We talked about it on air about how he hit first base as he was trying to beat out a ball. Looked like it maybe had been his ankle or his knee. It turned out it was his knee. They said he's got a bone bruise in his knee. He's going on the injured list. This was announced this morning. Mike Trout ran down the first base line, hit the bag with his foot, is on the injured list. So here we go again. And here we go again. I hope you didn't draft Mike Trout. Even at the price point, I hope you didn't do it. He's hitting 106 or whatever. What's he hitting? Like 179 or something like that anyway. What's he batting? 179, exactly. But obviously he's out. He's looking at another injured list. It's never 10 days with Mike Trout. So what does this team do? Because that's the real storyline here, because Trout is what Trout is. Probably going to have Taylor Ward in left field. Excuse me. Joe Adell in center field. Who plays right field? Well, they could put Jorge Soler there. I really don't want them to do that, right? So you look at this team, and it's like Gustavo Campero. You start looking at the minor league system. Let's pull up the minor league system. Who am I forgetting? I mean, gosh, they call up Scott Kingery. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what they're going to do, and that's that I think that's the problem they're dealing with as well. They don't really. Number one, obviously, they don't have a Mike Trout replacement who would. I mean, he's still Mike Trout despite having some problems. But this is a scenario where it's unclear what's going to happen. I mean, maybe Kyron Paris gets shifted to the outfield. Maybe they go more. Maybe they go more with Anderson up the middle. Bottom line is, there's no answer for you to turn to on the Angels. If you lost Mike Trout, you're going to have to look somewhere else. Ugh. Poor Angels. Jazz Chisholm, he's fine. It's his flank. It's not his oblique. He's going to be okay. He told us he was going to be fine after the game. Placed on the injured list this morning. And it's not a flank injury. It's an oblique injury. I don't know, man. So the Yankees called up or beat Vivas. Maybe he sees time at second base. Maybe they put Osvaldo Peraza there. DJ LeMahieu recently had a little bit of a setback in his recovery, so he's not an option. I guess Pablo Reyes is an option. This is another scenario with the Yankees where Osvaldo Peraza, okay, but we're not picking him up. Like, there's no replacement on the Yankees, no guy that's going to come in and have power and speed to replace Jazz Chisholm. You're going to have to look somewhere else for that pickup. AL-only leaguers, again, the Vivas and Peraza, but, Peraza's probably rostered anyway, so there's not much there. And this, this is another scenario where Jazz Chisholm, he's 27 now, right? This is not a guy at the start of his career. He's 27 now. It's time to do it, Jazz. And, he went 18-23 his first season. He went 14-12 his second season in 60 games. That was COVID. So that was the year he was going to go 30-30, but he didn't do it because of COVID. He then goes 19-22. Last year he goes 24-40. He goes to the Yankees and runs like a banana pants crazy guy, like his hair's on fire. So everyone was really in this year. He's a Yankee. He was tremendous with the Yankees. He stole a ton of bases down the stretch. Coming into action when he got hurt, 7 home runs in 30 games. That's a 35 home run pace. 6 steals in 30 games. That's a 30 pace. He can't do it. And, we're looking at a player who, for the fourth time, well, let's not say that. For the third time in 4 years is not going to play 140 games. And it could be the fifth time in 6 years he doesn't play 125. Tons of talent. But does it matter if you're not on the field? Maybe a guy that we continue to overgrab. This next one shocked me. Shocked everyone, not just me. Jake Burger was demoted. Blaine Krim gets called up. I'm not concerned about that. Interestingly enough, the party line is that Burger's going for a reset. Okay, now Burger is 29 years old. He had 29 home runs and 76 RBIs last year. The year before, he had 34 home runs and 80 RBIs. The last 2 years, he's averaged 33 home runs and 78 RBIs. And they demoted him. Has he been good? Absolutely not. He has not been good. His walk rate is down, and his walk rate's already bad, so saying his walk rate is down is really bad. And his strikeout rate is up a little bit. But it's not, his career walk to strikeout ratio is 0.2, which is a terrible number. It's 0.2, it's 0.1 right now. It's not appreciably different. You look at his expected batting average, it's 223. What's his career batting average? 246. His expected slugging percentage is 411. What's his career number? His Career number is 472. That's the main difference. Exit velocity's down a little bit, but hard hit rate's the same, launch angle's the same, barrel rate's the same. You look at his chase rate. Let's pull that up here. Is he chasing pitches out of the strike zone? Slightly elevated a couple of percentage points, nothing fantastic. His swinging rate, basically dead on his career average. Guys are attacking him. They're throwing that first pitch to him strike 74% of the time. So they're not afraid of him. Clearly he's in a funk, but this is still super surprising. Burger's going to be dropped across the land, and in most leagues, he probably does deserve to be dropped. If you're in a deeper league, he still should be dual position eligible. He could go down to the farm for 2 weeks, hit 3 home runs, bat 297, get called up right away. I still think that the plan is for the Rangers to have Jake Burger be in their starting lineup when he's recalled. I don't think they're going to recall him and make him a reserve. I would try to hold him if you need power and you need that infield boost on the corners. But I think most people don't need that. Most people are in shallower leagues. A lot of you are in head-to-head leagues. I think it's okay to drop Jake Burger in that scenario. Angelo says, I've got both Ketel Marte and Jackson Merrill in the IL, but I don't want to drop anyone. Good news is Merrill should be back very, very shortly. He's playing in the field already. He should be back. He could be back this weekend. Same with Ketel Marte. He's getting close too. So, Angelo, you got 2 bangers that should be back within days here. So that's good news for you. Don't drop them, of course. And you weren't going to do that. So I probably shouldn't even have said that. Tyler Fitzgerald is going on the injured list with that rib issue. He's going to miss a couple of weeks with a rib fracture. He hopes it's a couple of weeks. Now it's a left rib fracture. Rib fractures can be very painful, hard to breathe, that kind of thing. Casey Schmidt is also hurt, so he's not an option for the Giants. So it's Christian Koss and Brett Wisely. Another scenario where NL only players, okay. Mixed leaguers, there's no answer here for Tyler Fitzgerald. Tyler Fitzgerald, I don't think he's necessarily the answer either, but power and speed's been there since last season. You have to wait hopefully a couple of weeks. The Giants probably mix and match until he returns, so nothing really actionable there. Spencer Steer. I've gotten a bunch of questions about Spencer Steer of late. The rankings again came out yesterday at fantasyguru.com. The good news is that he went 2 for 3 yesterday, and he started to hit. And I think he started to hit, as we talked about on the Elite Sports Game Time show last night. I think he's starting to hit because he's healthy. When he was the DH, he hit 111. The shoulder finally was healthy enough to put him in the field. Since then, he's hitting 290 with a 370 on base percentage. I think he did the team a favor and hurt himself in the process. He played through an injury where he wasn't 100%. So he struggled along, slowly he started to feel better. Now, the last 10 games, we've seen Spencer Steer. Remember, he's dual position eligible. He's a 2020 guy. Again, we're not completely out of the woods here because it's only been 10 days and we don't want to blow that out of proportion. But reading the tea leaves in between the lines here, Spencer Steer, he's on the waiver wire in your league and he very well could be. Now's the time to make a move before everyone else realizes that he's actually trending upward. Because remember, people are going to do that little search. The last 10 days, he's hitting 290 with an 850 OPS. Now's the time to get involved with Spencer Steer. Maikel Garcia went 3 for 5 yesterday, stole 3 bases. Garcia is really intriguing. He's on multiple teams I thought the price point was very good for him this season. A dual position guy, third base and second base in almost every scenario. He's also played the outfield 6 times this year, so there's a chance maybe he ends up being 3 position eligible, which is fantastic. Right now he's batting 290 and he's on pace to steal 40 bases after yesterday's effort. And I think the good news is with him that we've always liked the batted ball profile. It's always been he hits the ball hard, but he hits a lot of it into the ground, which is not bad because he's fast. He can beat things out. If he just lifted the ball a little bit more, maybe there's a 20 home run season here. Maybe there's a 290 average here. Well, check this out. His launch angle 6% the last 2 years is up to 9%. His hard hit rate, about 45% the last 2 years, is up to 54%. And his exit velocity, and we're to the point where we start talking about players, right? We mentioned earlier in the season, kind of what we're shooting for in terms of, total batted ball events and stuff. We're at a point now where we can start looking at this batted ball data and start to really take stuff away from it. He's top 10 in baseball in expected batting average, top 10 in baseball in hard hit rate, and top 10% in exit velocity. Like, he's ripping. The issue for Garcia beyond all those positives, is his spot in the batting order. He does not walk a lot, and as a result, he doesn't hit first or second. They've got, obviously, Bobby Witt up there, too. If he could convince them to put him at 1 in front of Witt, but he usually hits 5th or 6th. So, anyway, long story short, if you've got Garcia, all positives right now, and it's nice to see him start to run because that is where he'll generate a lot of his fantasy value. Luis Robert, we talked about him on the show, I think, or I know we did on Game Time at Night, and said, and since then, he's actually done some things. He drove in 4 runs yesterday, a couple of base hits. He's 8 for his last 24. He's got a couple of home runs and 7 RBIs his last 6 games. That's great work. Also stolen 6 bases. 6. How many people realize that? Right? Well, other stuff is nice, but 6 steals. Now, remember, we've talked about this. His last 129 games, he's gone 1836. So that's 129 games. So 150 game pace of 2040. Now, he's also hitting 215. And he also has 48 RBIs. 48 RBIs in 129 games. He had 80 RBIs in 2023. In 129 games, he got 48. Oh, they're so bad, Chicago. Rockies are worse. Who's worse? White Sox or Rockies? Good to see Robert starting to trend upward. As we have said all along, the hope there is get traded, bro. That's all we can hope for, because if he gets traded, maybe we can start seeing the numbers really pop. Rubby17, who did get a shout out yesterday on the Elite Sports Game Time show on SiriusXM, Fantasy Sports Radio, asked me about Daulton Varsho in the chat before the game started and said, hey, I'm looking at a prop there with him. What do you think? And I was kind of like, I get it, but no. And luckily, Rubby17 ignored me, and he placed the bet, and he won the bet because Varsho hit a home run. So way to go, Rubby17. Varsho hit a 356-foot home run off Tanner Houck. Houck pitched marvelously yesterday, by the way. The ball was darting everywhere when he was throwing. But Varsho, that's now 2 home runs in 3 games. He's 3 for 10. Hey, now Varsho, long-term, I mean, can he hit 20 home runs? Sure. Can he steal 15 bases? Yes. Is he going to hit 218 with the 309 on-base percentage? Yeah. So he is a very, very much, Varsho, a team-dependent addition. If you're in a head-to-head league, he's really rough because there are going to be weeks where he doesn't do anything. If you're in a roto league, again, you'll have some power and speed, but the batting average is going to be really volatile. I think the most interesting thing about last night was he was hitting cleanup. So if he's hitting cleanup for the Blue Jays, maybe there's a little bit more meat on those bones, but I'd be cautious getting too excited running to grab Daulton Varsho on waivers this week because he's probably on waivers in 70% of leagues, I'm guessing. I don't know, maybe more because of the injury. Be very cautious with him. Dansby Swanson went 2 for 4 yesterday with a solo home run. Swanson's been in the cash game. I always say that. Raise plays. I changed the article title over at fantasyguru.com. He's been in raise plays a couple of times recently because his price point is so low. He's been really bad to start the season. But the good news is that it's started to turn around a little bit. And you look at Swanson, he's going to play every day. We know that. He's got a good ballpark to hit in most days. He's got a good lineup around him. Tucker and Suzuki and Pete Armstrong, all these guys, Happ. And Dansby Swanson has been extremely consistent, right? Year to year, he just produces without being sexy or exciting. The last 11 games, he scored 10 runs, and he's hitting 295 with an 863 OPS. So if you need help up the middle and Swanson's sitting there, the seasonal numbers don't look good. He's very, very likely to be a very solid addition up the middle, and he's been pretty good the last couple of weeks. So just wanted to give him a shout out. And then finally, before we talk some football with Russell Clay, Corey Seager is expected to return to the lineup for the Rangers tomorrow. Good news is he's been out with the injury. They were hopeful that it would take 10 days, and it looks like it's going to take 10 days. So that's great news. They desperately, again, the Rangers need some production back in their lineup. They'll try to get Jake Berger figured out in the minor leagues. Still stunned by that. Corey Seager will jump right back in there and hopefully face the Mariners on Saturday. That's the plan. Things could always change, but that's what we're expecting at this point in time. So good news with Corey Seager. The Rangers desperately need to have that big horse back in the middle of their lineup. All right, so there's the baseball talk. Any other further questions for baseball, hit me up in chat room over at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the website. Sign up for the seasonal baseball package, the DFS baseball package, the wagering baseball package. I got my tentacles and all of those things, so check it out over there. You can always send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. If you've got any question about any of the products, if you want to combine products, You can always go VIP Platinum and get everything we do over at fantasyguru.com. So check that out. All right, it's a Friday, and on Fridays we talk football with my man Russell Clay. He just updated the dynasty rankings over at fantasyguru.com. He's constantly in the Discord room talking about players, youngsters, draft picks, trades, all that kind of stuff for people in rookie drafts. He does threads on Twitter X I think it's at Russell J. Clay, I think is what it is on Twitter. He was getting excited about one of our drafters in the Discord room. And I think he called him a boss or something. I forget the term. We'll bring him in and ask him what the term is. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Russell, what was the term you used for that great lineup that guy had put together? Do you remember?
I don't even remember, but it was a great roster, and I was really happy for that guy. And, someone commented under it. It's like, all right, well, let's see what this looks like in November. And it's like, well, okay, fine. It's probably not going to be good in November, but we're going to have fun in May.
Well, and that's the thing, and you know this, right? People are so negative. Like, it's just social media, man. Like, we get a few bad apples occasionally over at fantasyguru.com, occasionally. But generally, the Elite Mafia is great, right? They really are. They support each other, especially in the off season. When it's week 9 and the bullets are flying, things are different. But right now, they're really nice. So I really applaud people for that. And here on the show, too, I never get negative comments, which I love. So thank you, everyone. I thank people like once a week for being positive here on the show. You're always positive, Russell. How are you doing in general?
I'm good. We are in the pre-death period of Arizona. Okay. So I'm happy we're still able to float around outside, but it's a new day, Ray. NFL draft is behind us, and a lot of fun to break down.
You did update the dynasty rankings over at FG. I saw that update get posted. How often do you do that now moving forward? Because obviously you've had a chance to look at everything. We're going to talk running backs to you here in a second, but you've had a chance to look at everything. Is it like on a weekly basis? Is it a monthly basis? How does that go moving forward?
So normally I update them every Wednesday, but since there was so much movement, I just over the weekend, I was like, I had some people in the Discord, like we got to update these. And I was like, that's fair feedback. So we got this out. We got that out Monday. As training camp starts, as injuries start, as we figure out these depth charts, this will evolve. So I imagine the updates will continue to have some good stuff in them, but this was like, I probably had 50 plus players move this past one. So this was a big one.
Yeah. I updated the baseball rankings. They went up yesterday too. So I feel your pain, Russell. I know how that goes. It's not easy, folks. You don't just hit a button. I think a lot of people think it's all computer. No, you have to dig through it. So it's a lot of work. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. All right, we talked yesterday quarterbacks with Tyler Beaker. I figured we'd talk running backs with you today. This one obviously is a hugely important question. We all know Ashton Genty to the Raiders, so I figured we've all talked about that. Let's not really spend much time there. What about the rest of this guys in the class? And the first guy I want to talk to you about is Omarion Hampton, who obviously, you've talked about him before. Let's talk about him again here since we're just going over the position. The Chargers bring in Najee Harris to carry the ball and catch some passes 18 times a week. Then they draft Omarion Hampton in the first round. There goes that. There's a lot of similarity between these two guys. Short-term Hampton, 2025. Long-term Hampton, what do you think?
I imagine in the first 2 months of the season, there will be some annoyance around who's starting and who's getting the starter snaps and how this is all working out. But have to imagine this is pretty rough for Najee. Everyone's theorizing what they told him when they brought him in.
Right.
You have to imagine he thought he was going to be the starter.
I would imagine. Right? Yeah.
Like, everyone talks about Shedeur Sanders on draft night. Najee Harris had a bad day one, man.
Sure did.
He had a bad day one. Yeah. So I'm curious if he even finishes the season on this roster.
Really?
We'll have to see in training camp and everything. He's probably going to fight for the starting gig, may win it. But if he's sitting there and like a full backup by the end of the year, that might not be a good thing. But overall, love the upside of Hampton. I will say, Ray, Year one, he may be overdrafted in season long leagues.
Okay.
I do think Najee's good enough to take enough of the snaps, you know?
Omarion Hampton, we're redrafting in my 12 team, 45 man roster dynasty league. And he's my first running back, Hampton. You like that? Dynasty league?
I love it. And again, the guy who sent me the screenshot yesterday, right. I love having Omarion Hampton as your RB1 or 2 in Dynasty. I think that's a great setup. And I believe he's my RB6 or 7. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the beginning of the year. So if you don't have Hampton, or if you do have Hampton, I might try to get Najee now. Mm-hmm. The Najee owner's going to not be too resistant. He's going to be, all right, you can have him for a third. So, yeah.
There's Norm behind you there, by the way. He's just cruising through. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. He's got a kitten named Norm that sometimes makes an appearance. Oh, he's really making an appearance. There's Norm. Hey, Norm. He's a big fella. How much does he weigh?
He's big now. Probably 15 pounds. Yeah.
My kitten's like 10 and a half, 11.
Yeah.
Big one there. He's got a little snoot.
He was a runt. He was a runt compared to his brother, and then you just kept growing.
I love it when they sit there and look at you in the eyes. That was cute. Maybe all of you think that's stupid because you don't like cats. I like cats. I thought it was cute. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Angelo said 70% of the carries in the second half go to Hampton. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking by the end of the year. Remember when Nick Chubb, that rookie season, he'd get a few touches per game and we'd all be like, okay, when is this happening? And then he had that Raiders game where he had 3 touches, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then it was over. That's going to happen here at some point. He's too good to just be sitting there.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Okay, you mentioned Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, no one knows what the Browns are doing at quarterback. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They drafted Sanders. They drafted Gabriel. They've got Pickett. They've got Flacco. Who the hell knows what's going on there? Let's talk about the backfield. Quinshon Judkins goes there, and it's like Jerome Ford is his competition. It's like we're feeling pretty good about that. And then they draft Dylan Sampson too. So, does this – again, there's not many running backs that carry the ball 19 times a week. So I don't know if this is a real negative for Judkins, but it was a little disappointing to see them also take Sampson, wasn't it?
I was so bummed out when I saw that Sampson was going to a backfield of a second-round pick. Really liked Sampson pre-draft, thought he was a guy who could lead a backfield at some point in his career. Maybe he can, but same staff that tortured us with Hunt and Chubb the last 3 to 4 years. And we all know we've all dove into that backfield at some point the last 3 years. So we know what they're going to do there. Still like Judkins a lot. I think that's a great pick. Great running back class. But yeah, the fact that Sampson went to that landing spot was really rough. Even though he went in the 4th round, I was still going to be optimistic, but he's a handcuff at this point.
What about the situation with the Patriots? Obviously, when you change the coaching staff, things change. They've got their quarterback, Drake May, who I know you're a fan of. They've got him at quarterback. They added Stephon Diggs. They're trying to. They made some moves there on the wide receiver core, but I think the big information for us today on the show is TreVeyon Henderson. They signed Ramon Stevenson, I think it was before last season, right? It's like a 3-year extension, gave him a fair amount of money. Stevenson last year, but here comes Henderson. So I guess Antonio Gibson's there too, I think, right? So Gibson, I guess, is a nobody now. How do we look at Stevenson and Henderson as this team tries to improve from what was a poor 2024?
Ramondre Stevenson does not appear to be the type of running back to survive a regime change on a new roster. Not really a guy Vrabel has historically valued. Obviously, they had Derrick Henry for a while there, but Stevenson doesn't have the same juice there. They bring in a running back 2nd round. Have to imagine Henderson takes the lead there, maybe even in training camp. So very curious how that ends up, but the talent difference is immense between Stevenson and Henderson.
Would Stevenson become a 3rd down back, or is Henderson good enough to be a 3 down back himself?
Probably a 60-40 in year one. Okay. I'd
Mm-hmm.
expect that. And then I don't know how long Stevenson is signed for, but I'd imagine it's a new coaching staff. They're probably going to get someone else in there next year as well. So Henderson's backfield by next season for sure.
They signed him to a 4-year, $36 million extension last year. So Stevenson still got 3 years, and I'm guessing $25+ million left.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Hey, that's what happens when you change coaching staffs. Things change.
So they sign him to that, and then they draft someone. So,
right?
Yeah, rough.
And sometimes teams do things, and it's like sometimes the NFL teams make moves, and I'm thinking, you're a fantasy football player, aren't you? Like, sometimes in fantasy football, it's like, I got a great backfield. I'm taking another running back. It's like,
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll see how that situation plays out with the Patriots. RJ Harvey to Denver. Jeff Mans would marry RJ Harvey, but he's already married. Okay, so I love his wife. He loves her. I don't love her. I love her. You get the point. So I'm not trying to replace his wife. But he loves RJ Harvey. What do you think about RJ Harvey? Obviously, you look at this landing spot, and Sean Payton, man, we're going to the running back. They don't have one. They tried to figure it out last year. They decided to move on. They bring in Harvey. Your Harvey thoughts?
Yeah, Jeff highlighted Harvey before the draft as a guy he was interested in. And then he lands 2nd round, Denver, Sean Payton, no competition in the depth chart. You could have him as your RB3 in this class, and I'd have no problem. I think I did end up putting him as my RB3 in the post-draft rankings. Feels pretty good to me. And it's partially the Sean Payton thing, right? Because Sean Payton has been teasing us and almost publicly humiliating the Denver Broncos running backs, shifting them out 3, 4, 5 guys at a time. He finally has his guy, and I feel like it's total wheels up. We have Bo Nix going into year 2 who loves short dump offs.
Right.
This feels like, this is wheels up from year 1 on. So I'm very much in. I love that call by Jeff, and I'm totally in.
And it shows you how important it is to, especially at the running back position, to be in the right place. Right, because when we're talking about these other guys, like Hampton's got Harris, though long-term, sure. Judkins got Sampson now, okay. But when you talk about RJ Harvey, without really competition in that offense, like just a reminder to a lot of folks. A lot of folks say, "Hey, look at his 40 time, look at his college numbers, look at his quads," and they think that's all that matters. But you got to end up in the right spot too.
We almost had a full Saquon career that we thought he just wasn't nearly as good as his draft. And that wasn't true, obviously, but hell, I was a staunch Saquon guy. And before last year, I was like, man, I guess we were all kind of just wrong. So situation is immense for running back. Again, you can survive as a running back in a bad spot, but especially now, having great coaching who are getting you in the right spots it just changes everything.
Russell Clay of FantasyGuru.com. We talked about Najee Harris with the Chargers now. That obviously means he left the Steelers. Warren was signed to like a $5 million 1-year deal or whatever. They brought in Kenneth Gainwell. Warren backers who have said forever that he's better than Najee Harris despite the coaching staff not making that call. Whoops. Here comes Caleb Johnson. So Jaylen Warren thought for a while I'm getting 15 touches a week. Sure looks like he's not now. Caleb Johnson, kind of a direct replacement for Najee Harris. Talk us through that one.
Oh, so good. That's the most Steelers pick of all time.
Right.
Just a 220+ pound running back who's going to slam into the line and be Najee Harris or Jerome Bettis or whoever, whatever. We've seen it for the last 25 years, 50 years, really, if you're a diehard Steelers fan. It's just the perfect Steelers pick. And they're so good with skill guys that I just know this is working out. So honestly, if you want to have Caleb Johnson as your RB3 in a RB rookie ranking, no problem for me. So I really love that fit. Warren's still going to be a third down back and spell him, and they've really hit on that draft pick. But yeah, it's Caleb Johnson. He'll probably be getting 20 touches a game.
What about the quarterback spot? I mean, Mason Rudolph. Like we talked about this yesterday, Tyler and I, and it's like I guess they're really banking on Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, ugh.
I don't know, Ray. I got nothing, man. I can't believe they left the draft. And this was not a great draft class. I can't believe they left it with nothing.
Yeah. I don't get it. We'll see. They better get Aaron Rodgers. And again, we said this yesterday. I go, Aaron Rodgers could sign with the Steelers and decide week 1 he's going to quit. Like, I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
He's going on a retreat in week 3.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of balls handed off to the backfield. That's probably where we're looking right now with the Steelers. Russ Clay of FantasyGuru.com. In the 4th round, your Jaguars, Russ, took a running back, Mr. Tuten. And there was a lot of talk prior to the draft. What are they going to do? They obviously traded up to get Travis Hunter. There was a lot of talk they were going to draft Genty. They didn't do that. They went the Hunter route. We'll see long-term whether that ends up being the right call or not. But now there was what do we do with ETN and what of Bigsby? Well, here comes Tuten. So now there's 3 running backs. Explain to us who Tuten is and your early take on this backfield with the Jaguars.
Tuten was not a guy viewed as a top-end prospect until the combine, and then he tested out really, really well. And this James Gladstone, this is one of his first picks in the new era of this Jags offense and organization. Really, totally new. All the coaches are young. They're clearly analytics based, going after guys like Travis Hunter and Tuten. So I like it, but I imagine he's going to play special teams. I imagine he's going to be doing some dirty work. ETN, Tank Bigsby, that feels like more of a hedge on what ETN showed us last year. If he comes out this year and he looks the same kind of marginalized version of himself, then we could be seeing Tuten maybe next year. I don't think they're going to replace ETN this year. Right? They're going to run it out no matter what. But if we see the version we saw last year, it may be his last with the Jags.
And ETN, I mean, just roughly running back 3 in fantasy this year. Is that kind of?
I was a huge ETN guy. It's going to be hard to click that button this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian E says, by the way, I heard Tom was talking about Bubby Brister. So Bubby Brister is going to come out. What do you think, Bubby Brister? I'm looking at him. He's 62 right now, so maybe he's still got a little bit left in the old right arm. I don't know. What do you think?
Man, that's a name, huh?
Yeah.
Bubby Turns Brister. Out. I'm just looking at it now. He actually had a long career.
14 years. You've been a backup quarterback for a long time, Russ.
Man, yeah, that's a name. That's a name I vaguely remember, but they could use him. He might be enough at this point.
His last 6 seasons in the NFL, he threw 420 passes. Yeah, he didn't play too much. It's a good call there, Brian. Let's move on to talk about Skattebo, the Giants. They have Tracy, and they're worried about fumbleitis. They did sign Devin Singletary to a contract, but then they brought in Tracy. They draft Skattebo. My take from what I've heard and what I've seen is Skattebo's a nice piece, but he's kind of a grinder. He's not a 3-down back and all kind of stuff, but maybe he steals short yardage stuff. What's your take on how the backfield right now looks like it's going to play out with the Giants?
It's perfect. That's perfect guy to go to New York. They got Jameis. They got Cam Skattebo, who's going to become a folk hero there.
Right.
And he's pretty good. And for that role, they already have Tracy, who can take up all those highly athletic third down and receiving touches. And then we got Skattebo, who has a solid receiving profile as well. But what they're bringing him in for, I would imagine, is a 2-down role. And pre-draft, I had him as a 4th or 5th round guy. That felt the right range based on what his profile looks like. He goes in round 4. Maybe that's upsetting to some, but that is this guy. That is what Skattebo is. He's a grinder. He's a guy that's going to become a fan favorite on the Giants, and he'll be pretty good. You know, an injury or two, maybe he'll have that Peyton Hillis year, but yeah, that's a great combo.
Oh, I like that. Plus, everyone's going to go Skattebo. It's really fun to say his name. He's not Carson Steele. He's better than that, right?
Oh, yeah. He's way better. Yep.
Not to mention he's actually a tailback. Texans. Got Joe Mixon. He's toward the end, right? But still very productive. Every time they played on the road last year, I think he ran for 100 yards. I'm only slightly exaggerating. Tons of work there. They still have Dameon Pierce, who at one point in time, now he's not that guy. I think Ogunbowale is still back. Then they drafted Woody Marks in the 4th round. Is this merely we're getting a depth piece with Marks? Is this merely we're looking ahead to 2026, 27? Or is this somebody that could actually see the field without an injury in 2025?
I would lean heavily no, without an injury. They were really happy with what they got from Mixon last year, as was everybody. So great position there. What I will say, I wasn't a huge Woody Marks fan. He was a transfer. It went to USC his final season and looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
But without a Mixon injury, it's not going to be much. But I will say, beyond last year, Mixon mostly stayed healthy. We've known him in his Bengals years as a guy who gets hurt every year. So that injury, what is he, 29 now, does feel a little more likely, even though we're not thinking about it right now. So if Marks can win out in training camp, this could be a year 1 guy.
Final situation to talk about. We're going to go out west to my San Francisco 49ers. Whoever's getting the ball in the backfield with the Niners in this system has success. We've seen it over and over and over again. Okay. Christian McCaffrey, talking about a guy who's going to get hurt. We all know Christian McCaffrey is going to miss game action. The question is it a handful of games? Is it half a season? We have no idea. He'll get drafted super early, most likely as a running back 1, and people will take their chances. Isaac Arendo had some huge moments last year. He also dealt with injury on his own. He checks every single possible box physically. Like, he's just a physical freak. Here comes Jordan James. It's a 5th round pick, but the Niners need depth. So it's not surprising they took a running back. Is James just that? Is he depth, or is he potentially more? Like, when Christian McCaffrey goes down, is James got a chance to usurp Isaac Arendo? What do you think with James?
Right. To me, this looks like the classic local scout running to Kyle Shanahan and saying, hey, we got this guy up north in Oregon. You got to check him out. I do laugh how many times that happens in a draft, or you see all these UDFAs going to random teams, and it's like, oh, they were probably watching a ton of Oregon games out of California, and they probably picked up on Jordan James. So it's a nice fit. I do see a lot of people getting really excited about Jordan James. And one thing I would caution is I still like Arendo. I thought he was a nice fit. He had some really nice games with them last year. So if McCaffrey does go down, we could be in one of those scenarios where we're rotating 3, 4, 5, and then Shanahan will eventually find this guy off the street that he loves too, right? That's just what he does. So yes, that system can make a running back 1 in fantasy, but it can also give us nightmares because they make it work with so many different players. So we all know the deal there. You know what you're buying into. If you want to go in on Jordan James, I'm with you, but you know the risk of this ride.
Eric S. says Skattebo is the new Mike Allstott.
Yeah.
Fair? That's a fair comp.
Getting up to the Mike Allstott levels might be tough. That's a real folk hero right there. Him and work done. But
he used to wear the big neck guard, right? The big pads, the big huge shoulder pads, the size of a truck.
Oh my
Number
God.
40, I think, something like that.
That was a different time, man.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Here's another comment from Hal. I have no picks before the 3rd round. I have team needs basically everywhere. It's a tough question, Hal. We can't really answer who could be available late. We don't know your setup and all that kind of stuff. So let me do this with you, Russ. Hal basically needs help with his team. Are there a player or two that you have identified that, kind of like Jeff with RJ Harvey before everyone kind of gets in on, are there a player or two that you look at any of these positions on the offensive side, Russ, and say to yourself, I'm not getting a sense that anyone's in on this guy. I like the fit. I like the skill set. I think people undervalued him on draft day. You got a name or two there?
Hal, you got to put in some elbow grease there, Hal. You got to grind the end of that roster, and you got to be the first person after that rookie draft is over to be picking these guys up off waivers. And that first roster churn where people are still holding on to the vets at the end of their roster, you only need to hit one or two guys of those late round picks to really boost yourself into a new tier. So when we're looking at beyond the third round, most rookie drafts in dynasty leagues are 3 rounds. So I'm assuming that's where you're at, 3 or 4. So once you get past that, we're looking at 4th and 5th round running backs, and we're looking at 4th, 5th, and maybe some 6th round wide receivers. And some guys you'll see get drafted in the top 3 rounds might slip out of the rookie draft. So I'm talking guys like Pat Bryant and Isaac Tesla. Truth, hands up. I don't really know much about those guys right now. I got to do more research. But because of that, because they're guys that even like, content people don't really know, they might slip out, and they have a lot of investment from their team. So you're looking for people like that. Savion Williams from the Packers. We are just churning and burning here. Ty Felton is another one where wasn't a huge fan of his prospect profile, but he goes round 3 to the Minnesota Vikings. And my stance is like, if you want to take a shot on a Minnesota Viking draft pick in general, I don't even need to see the name at this point. Just take a shot there. So, and then the 4th and 5th round of the running backs here, Ollie Gordon in the 6th round, Devin Neal, Saints, DJ Giddens. Nobody's going to be interested in him because of Taylor. Jaden Blue with the Cowboys. So these are all names that individually I'm not very excited about, but if you get 5 to 7 at the end of the roster, you don't have to be too invested. You could just say, all right, if one hits, we'll keep rolling. And if the other 5 get cut, we'll just rotate more in. So if you're really struggling with depth, that's the way I would roll.
That question from Hal brings up a thought I want to ask you about, Russ. There's always the question, and yesterday Tyler Beaker answered this, take best player. Do you take the best player or do you take the team need? Like, how do you, again, first round is different, but once we start getting into a draft, like, are you looking more to address concerns you have with your roster, or are you just trying to grab that great talent and then you'll worry about it later?
Depends on how good the roster is. If you're one piece away, and it's a non-quarterback, I think you could go wide receiver, running back team need. But if you need a tight end and you're like, all right, Colston Loveland 104, I'm going to say just don't ever do that. But in Hal's situation, sounds like it might be a rebuild. I would just do best player available every single pick. And, next year you can start to look at something, but yeah.
Oh, by the way, Hal says 55 roster spots in IDP. Hal's on a deep one. Yes, Hal.
Dang,
way to
Hal.
go, bro. Yes, we get up to 50 in my league, so way to go.
Man.
Could the Bears rookie running back beat out DeAndre Swift? That's David P's question, isn't it? Kyle Monagai or whatever it might be. Like, I think he was like a last round draft pick or something like that. But, Swift last year, they obviously, Roshan Johnson's around, but talk to us about this rookie. Was it Monagai? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Monagai.
Okay, Monagai. Okay.
Ultimately, Hopefully we don't have to worry too much about that.
Sorry,
right? That's my plan. That's how I'm moving forward.
Okay.
And if we do have to learn it, I'll watch a broadcast because I know they always do the research on how to say the name. So that's my guess right now. With that said, I would never predict a 7th round running back to beat out an incumbent. It's just the odds of that are so low. But that is someone to look at, I would say, as maybe a handcuff.
Yeah, they gave Swift that 3-year, $24 million deal too. They paid him to come there. That's not that we couldn't be talking about him later in the season, but yeah, 7th round running back is not drafted to replace your starter. So
yeah,
he's kind of in the mix there. And then finally, Hal says a question. Do you guys like targeting good offenses for the late guys? As a general question, are you looking into that, or are you looking, since we're late, we're just throwing darts and hoping a guy gets the playing time more than the scheme?
I don't even think the thought gets that far. If you're looking really down your roster, you're hoping for unexpected events to happen, whether that's injuries, coaching changes, regime changes. You're hoping for things to change. So a good offense right now may actually create more barriers than a bad one. If a player's on a bad offense, there's going to be more opportunity for them and more opportunity. They get a good head coach somewhere along the line.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com joins us every Friday here on the show at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He's in Discord all the time answering questions over at fantasyguru.com. As you heard, he updates the Dynasty rankings usually on a weekly basis over at fantasyguru.com. He's part of the live stream on Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. He basically runs the cat house over there on Tuesday nights. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for the product. Right now, the fantasy football product, rocking and rolling. You can get it right now. Send a question to support@fantasyguru.com if you do have any questions. What's coming down here the next couple of days, Russ? More of the same? More of you pulling out your hair, wondering whether you should have a guy ranked 9 or 10 at his position?
So someone reached out to me earlier this week, and something I've done in past years is dynasty roster reviews. If you are a Fantasy Guru subscriber, reach out to me. And I went on TikTok. I reviewed his roster.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of people, maybe like 5 people on the live were really jealous.
Right.
And I reviewed his roster, and then I sent it over to him. So if you guys are Fantasy Guru subscribers, and you want your roster kind of getting a grade and maybe some team needs, certainly willing to do that for you. So it's fun content and something to think about for this summer. So that sounds fun to you guys. Reach out.
Again, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up. That's a cool, people ask me and I hate it. So Russ is in. So Russ can do it. Thank God Russ is doing it. At least if you're going to ask me the question.
But hey, you got to be a sub. Like,
yeah,
I'm not.
Be a sub. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're going to word the question to me, Ray, here's my team. Where do you think I'm weak? What do you think I should do? Don't say grade my team. I'm not even after the draft. Don't say grade my team. I won't. That's Jeff Mann's giving you the eggplants and stuff. I don't do that. So give me some specifics. Russ is a better man than me. He just says ask the question. Send the questions away in Discord, and he'll help you out. Russ, thanks for your time today. We'll talk to you next Friday. Have a good weekend. Hopefully the weather holds on a little bit longer before you start to melt there in Arizona.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next Friday.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
You got it. He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. We'll be back here at 12 o'clock Eastern on Monday. Monday is the only day of the week where I ride solo. It's baseball all day on Mondays. We'll review the fab spending from the weekend and the stories of the weekend as well. Don't forget to go to FG. We just updated the baseball rankings. The Souls ranking just came out this morning as well. And as Russ said, he just updated the Dynasty rankings for football. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. For Russ, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Have a great weekend.